My family, with whom I cut off all ties 12 years ago, contacted me because my dad, I's, dying. I thought they wanted to reconcile, but they want me to fund my freeloading sister's lavish lifestyle. So, I refused, but I was sitting at my desk, reviewing investment portfolios like any other Tuesday morning, when my phone lit up with an unknown number. Usually, I'd let it go to voicemail. Spam calls are endless these days, but something made me pick up. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe just random chance. Either way, that call would turn my carefully constructed world upside down. "Hello?" I answered, still scanning the numbers on my screen. The office around me was quiet, except for the gentle of the air conditioning and the distant sound of keyboards clicking. "Harper T." The voice on the other end was hesitant, familiar in a way that made my stomach clench. It's your mother." My fingers froze over the keyboard. 12 years. It had been 12 years since I'd heard that voice, since I'd spoken to any of them, my mother, my father, or my sister Lily. 12 years of building my own life, my own success, far away from their toxic favoritism. I glanced at my office door, grateful that it was closed. "What do you want?" My voice came out harder than I'd intended, but then again, maybe that's exactly how I meant it to sound. My free hand curled into a fist on my desk. There was a pause, a deep breath. "Your father is very ill, Harper. The doctors, they say he doesn't have much time left." Her voice cracked slightly. "We want you to come home, to make peace, to say goodbye." I sat there, staring at the modern art piece hanging on my office wall, the one I'd bought myself last year just because I could. The silence stretched between us like a rubber band ready to snap. Outside my window, life went on as normal, people walking, cars passing, the world spinning. But in my office, time seemed to stand still. "I'll think about it," I finally said, and hung up before she could respond. Before she could try to guilt me, manipulate me, or whatever else she might have planned. For a long time I just sat there, my coffee growing cold beside me, memories flooding back that I'd tried so hard to lock away. But they came anyway, like a dam breaking, and I found myself remembering everything that had led to this moment. Every slight, every betrayal, every moment of choosing Lily over me. I was always the responsible one, the independent one, I had to be. From the time Lily was born, just 2 years after me, it was clear who the favorite was. Every birthday, every Christmas, every ordinary day, the pattern was the same. Lily got the new toys, the prettier clothes, the bigger portion of dessert. I got the hand-me-downs, the practical gifts, the lectures about being a big sister and how I needed to set an example. When Lily wanted my new colored pencils in 3rd grade, Mom made me share them. "You know how sensitive your sister is," she'd say, while Lily smirked behind her back. When she broke my favorite book by throwing it in the pool during a tantrum, Dad just said accidents happen, and bought her an ice cream to cheer her up. The book had been a gift from my favorite teacher, and I'd spent hours reading it under my covers with a flashlight. No one bought me a replacement. When she got better grades, they threw parties. "Look how smart our little girl is," they'd crow, while I sat in the corner with my straight as that were just expected. When I got better grades, they just nodded and said, "That's what we expect from you, Harper. You're older, you should be setting the example." I learned early on that if I wanted something, I had to get it myself. At 16, I started working at Joe's Cafe after school. The manager, Sarah, became more of a mentor to me than my own mother ever was. She taught me about responsibility, about saving money, about standing up for myself. I saved every penny, dreaming of the day I could build my own life. The phone incident was what really opened my eyes to how deep the favoritism ran. I'd saved for months to buy myself a smartphone, nothing fancy, just a basic model. $400 that I'd earned one tip at a time. The day I brought it home, Lily threw a fit. "But I want one too," she wailed, reaching for my phone with grabbing hands. "Harper, give it to me, you're so selfish." "No," I said firmly, holding it out of reach. "I bought this with my own money. You can save up for one too, you can get a job like I did." "Mom," Lily screamed, her face turning red. "Dad, Harper's being mean." They came running, of course. They always came running when Lily called, Mom from the kitchen, Dad from his study, both looking concerned about their precious baby's distress. "Harper," my father said sternly, his face set in that disappointment I knew so well. "Why are you being selfish? Your sister just wants to see your phone." "Because it's mine," I replied, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. "I worked for it, I earned it, every single dollar." "You're supposed to love your sister," my mother added, her disappointment evident. "How can you be so cruel? We raised you better than this." I looked at them, really looked at them, and something clicked into place. This wasn't normal, this wasn't fair. This wasn't love, this was something else entirely, and I was done pretending it was okay. "I do love her," I said quietly, still in my voice, But that doesn't mean I have to give her everything I own. I went to my room and locked the door, ignoring their calls and Lily's fake sobs that I knew would soon turn to demands for something else. That night, I started researching colleges in other states, dreaming of escape. I opened a new document on my computer and typed college applications at the top. I remember the day the acceptance letter came like it was yesterday. I was 18, had just graduated high school, and my hands were shaking as I opened the envelope from the investment management program in Arizona. Sarah watched me from behind the cafe counter. She knew how much this meant to me. I got in, I whispered, then louder, I got in. Sarah hugged me tight. I never doubted you for a second, kiddo. The letter offered a partial scholarship, which was more than I'd hoped for. I'd need about $30,000 to cover the rest of the expenses. It should have been no problem. I knew about the money Grandpa had left before he died. He'd made it clear it was for both his granddaughter's education. I'd been there when he told Mom and Dad, make sure both girls get their schooling. That's what this money is for. I drove home that day full of hope. Maybe this would be the moment things changed. Maybe they'd be proud of me. Maybe they'd finally see me. I found them in the living room, Lily sprawled on the couch texting while Mom and Dad watched TV. I got accepted, I announced, holding up the letter. The investment management program in Arizona. They're even giving me a partial scholarship. Mom muted the TV. Dad shifted in his chair. Lily didn't even look up from her phone. That's nice, honey, Mom said, but something in her tone made my stomach drop. But Arizona is so far away. The program is exactly what I want to do, I explained. And with Grandpa's money for the remaining tuition, about that, Dad interrupted, clearing his throat. We don't have that money anymore. The world seemed to tilt sideways. What do you mean? Grandpa left that money specifically for our education, both of us. Well, Mom said, smoothing her skirt. We had to make some choices. Investment opportunities came up, and what about Lily's college fund? I asked. Though I already knew the answer. I could see it in their faces. Dad actually laughed. Don't worry about your sister's education. We've got that covered. So you spent my portion? My voice was rising. You spent the money Grandpa left for my education but kept Lily's? Don't be dramatic, Mom said. You're good at figuring things out. You'll find a way. I looked at them, really looked at them. At Mom's expensive jewelry. At Dad's new golf clubs in the corner. At Lily's designer clothes and latest iPhone. You're telling me, I said slowly, that you spent the money my grandfather left for my education, on stuff? On yourselves? Watch your tone, Dad warned. No, I shouted. I won't watch my tone. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Grandpa wanted that money to go to both of us. Get out, Mom snapped. Just get out until you can speak to us with respect. I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. I drove to the cafe, tears blurring my vision, and worked my shift in a daze. The next day was my regular morning shift at the cafe. I went through the motions, making coffee and serving breakfast, trying to figure out what to do next. Sarah noticed something was wrong but didn't push. That's why I loved her. When I got home that afternoon, my key wouldn't work in the lock. I tried again and again, but it wouldn't turn. That's when I noticed my suitcases, the old ones from the basement, sitting by the door. They were stuffed with my clothes, some haphazardly folded, others just shoved in. Mom? I called out, knocking. Dad, you're not welcome here anymore. Mom's voice came through the door. We won't have that kind of disrespect in this house. Are you serious? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're kicking me out? Because I was upset that you stole my college money? Don't be so dramatic, she replied. You're 18 now, an adult. Time to figure things out on your own. I stood there, staring at those suitcases, trying not to cry. Cars passed by on our street. Neighbors who'd known me my whole life driving past like nothing was wrong. Like my parents hadn't just thrown me out. What about Lily? I asked, my voice breaking. Would you ever do this to her? There was no answer, just silence. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called my Aunt Rachel, Mom's sister. She answered on the second ring. Harper, what's wrong? You sound upset. I told her everything, my words tumbling out between sobs, about the college acceptance, about Grandpa's money, about being locked out. Stay right there, she said firmly. Your Uncle Mike and I are coming to get you. 45 minutes later, their car pulled up. Uncle Mike loaded my suitcases into the trunk, while Aunt Rachel hugged me tight. I'm so sorry, sweetie, she whispered. This isn't right. That night, sitting in their guest room, Aunt Rachel and Uncle Mike came in with a check. We want to help with your college tuition, Aunt Rachel said. It's not everything, but it's what we can do. I'll pay you back, I promise, through tears. Every penny. We know you will, Uncle Mike said. Because unlike some people, we know exactly who you are and what you're capable of. I looked at that check, $30,000. Enough to cover what the scholarship didn't. Enough to change my life. The next 12 years passed like a dream I'd built with my own 2 hands. College was tough but exhilarating. I threw myself into my studies, working part-time at the university's financial office to cover living expenses. Every semester, I made the dean's list. Every summer, I landed prestigious internships, and every month I put aside money to repay Aunt Rachel and Uncle Mike. During those 4 years, my phone never rang with calls from my parents or Lily. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering what they were doing, but then I'd remember the suitcases on the doorstep and force myself to focus on my future instead. My first job offer came 2 months before graduation, a junior position at Goldman Investment Partners. The starting salary was more than I'd ever dreamed of. The day I signed the contract, I called Aunt Rachel. I did it, I told her, my voice shaking with excitement. They want me to start right after graduation. Of course they do, she said, and I could hear the pride in her voice. You're exceptional, Harper. You always have been. I stayed in the same city as my job, starting in a tiny studio apartment that barely fit my bed and desk. But I didn't care, it was mine. Every morning, I'd wake up at 5, hit the gym, and be at my desk by 7:30. Every evening, I'd stay late, learning everything I could from my colleagues. My boss, Catherine, took me under her wing. You've got something special, she told me one night as we worked on a major client presentation. You're hungry, but not desperate. Driven, but not reckless. We need more people like you. 3 years in, I made senior analyst. 2 years after that, investment manager. My salary doubled, then tripled. I moved from my studio to a luxury apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city. I bought my first Mercedes, a sleek black C-Class that made me smile every time I saw it in the parking garage. I paid off my debt to Aunt Rachel and Uncle Mike in full, though they tried to refuse the money. We didn't help you so you'd pay us back, Aunt Rachel protested. I know, I told her. You helped me because you love me. But I'm paying you back because I love you too, and because I keep my promises. I traveled the world. Paris, Tokyo, Sydney. Posted pictures on social media of sunsets in Santorini and snow-capped peaks in Switzerland. I never blocked my family on social media, but I never looked at their profiles either. Let them see my success if they wanted to. I was done looking back. Until that phone call in my office 12 years later, bringing it all crashing back. The week after my mother's call, I found myself driving down the familiar streets of my hometown. Everything looked smaller somehow, less significant. I pulled up to my parents' house in my Mercedes, adjusting my Chanel sunglasses in the rearview mirror. The house hadn't changed much. Same blue shutters, same wooden swing on the porch. But now I could see the peeling paint, the sagging gutters, the signs of neglect. My mother opened the door before I could knock. She'd aged more than I expected, gray streaking her hair, lines around her mouth that hadn't been there before. Harper, she breathed, reaching for a hug. I didn't return. You look so successful. Where's Dad? I asked, stepping past her into the house. The interior smelled the same, Mom's vanilla candles and Dad's coffee. In the living room, she said, hurrying ahead of me. He's having a good day today. I wasn't prepared for how my father looked. The man who'd once seemed so imposing, so authoritative, sat slumped in his recliner, thin and pale. His eyes lit up when he saw me though, and for a moment I saw a flash of the father I remembered. Harper, he said, his voice weaker than I remembered, but still carrying that note of authority. You came. I did, I replied, sitting in the chair across from him. You look unwell. He laughed, but it turned into a cough. Always direct, weren't you? Yes, cancer's a bitch. Doctors say I've got a few months, maybe less. Mom hovered nearby, wringing her hands. I made your old room up for you. Everything's just like you left it. I almost laughed at that. Nothing was like I'd left it. They'd made sure of that 12 years ago. Where's Lily? I asked, noting my sister's absence. Oh, she's out with friends, Mom said quickly. She'll be back for dinner. She's so excited to see you. I doubted that, but nodded anyway. We made awkward small talk for a while. They asked about my job, my apartment, my car. I gave short, polite answers, watching them exchange glances when they thought I wasn't looking. That evening, Lily finally showed up, dressed in designer clothes that looked new. She'd gained weight since I'd last seen her, but her face was still pretty, still holding that look of perpetual entitlement I remembered so well. Harper? She squealed, as if we were best friends who'd just been apart for a weekend. Oh my God, is that a Cartier watch? It's gorgeous. Dinner was a strange affair. Mom had made all my favorite childhood dishes, as if food could bridge a 12-year gap of betrayal and silence. Dad ate little, mostly pushing food around his plate. Lily chatted endlessly about her friends, her social life, her plans to start a lifestyle blog. Speaking of plans, Dad said suddenly, setting down his fork, Harper, there's something important we need to discuss. I saw Mom tense up, saw Lily's eyes dart between our parents. Something clicked in my mind. This wasn't just about saying goodbye to a dying father. This was something else entirely. What is it? I asked, though a part of me already knew this wasn't going to be good. Dad leaned forward, his face serious. I need you to promise me something. A dying man's wish, if you will. I waited, my hand tightening around my water glass. After I'm gone, he continued, I need to know that Lily will be taken care of. That she'll be able to maintain her lifestyle. And you, well, you're in a position to ensure that happens. The room went silent. I could hear the tick of the clock on the wall, the of the refrigerator, the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. You want me to what? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. To take care of your sister, Mom jumped in. To help her financially. You're doing so well, Harper. You have more than enough to. I stood up from the dinner table, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Let me get this straight. You called me here, after 12 years of silence, to ask me to financially support my fully capable adult sister? Harper, please sit down, Mom pleaded. You're making this more dramatic than it needs to be. More dramatic? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You kicked me out of this house, you left my belongings in suitcases on the doorstep. You spent my college money, money that Grandpa specifically left for my education. And now you want me to support Lily? Lily spoke up, her voice whiny. It's not fair that you have so much money and won't share it. You've always been selfish. I turned to look at her, really look at her. Designer dress, expensive jewelry, perfectly manicured nails, all paid for by our parents, even now, when she was 28 years old. What exactly have you been doing these past 12 years, Lily? I asked. While I was working 60-hour weeks building my career, what were you doing? I've been finding myself, she replied defensively. Not all of us want to be corporate slaves. Finding yourself? On Mom and Dad's dime? I shook my head. And now that Dad's sick, you're worried about losing your meal ticket, aren't you? Don't talk to your sister that way, Mom snapped. She's sensitive. She needs to grow up, I shouted. She needs to learn how to support herself. She needs to stop depending on everyone else to fund her lifestyle. Dad's fist hit the table, though with less force than I remembered from childhood. Enough. I'm dying, Harper. My last wish is to know that my youngest daughter will be taken care of. And what about your oldest daughter? I asked quietly. Did you ever want to take care of me? The silence that followed was deafening. I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. I'm leaving, I announced. This was a mistake. Harper, please. Mom followed me to the door. Think about what you're doing. Think about your father's last wish. I turned to face her. I'll help pay for Dad's medical bills if he needs it. But I will not support Lily. That's my final answer. I walked out to my car, ignoring my mother's calls and my sister's dramatic sobs. As I drove away, I pulled over after a few blocks and called my aunt. They want me to support Lily, I said when she answered. Can you believe that? Oh, Harper, she sighed. I was afraid it might be something like that. Your sister hasn't worked a day in her life, and your parents, they've enabled her for so long. The next 2 days were a blur of angry calls and text messages. My mother and sister bombarded my phone with guilt trips and accusations. You're killing your father with your selfishness, Mom texted. You've always been jealous of me. Lily wrote. You're just trying to punish me. I saved every message but didn't respond. Something told me I might need them later. When Mom called again, I turned on my phone's recording app before answering. Harper, she started immediately. How can you be so cold, so selfish? Your sister needs you. I'm willing to help Dad, I replied calmly. But Lily is an adult. She needs to support herself. You're not worth your sister's little finger, Mom spat. We should never have called you. I ended the call and sat in my office, staring out at the city skyline. Then I opened my laptop and went to my mother's social media page. There it was, a long post about her heartless daughter who refused to help her dying father. The comments were filled with relatives and family friends expressing their shock and disappointment in me. Something snapped inside me, 12 years of silence, and this was how they wanted to play it? Fine. I wrote my own post, attaching screenshots of the texts and the recorded call. I told the whole story, the childhood favoritism, the stolen college money, the eviction, everything. I ended it with the truth about their recent contact, not that they wanted to reconcile but that they wanted me to financially support my able-bodied adult sister. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Comments flooded in, people expressing their shock, not at me this time, but at my parents. Family members I hadn't spoken to in years reached out privately, many sharing their own stories of witnessing the favoritism but never speaking up. Mom tried to defend herself in the comments, but each explanation just dug her deeper. Even her closest friends couldn't asking one daughter to support another perfectly capable adult. 6 months later, Aunt Rachel called to tell me Dad had passed away. Mom hadn't invited me to the funeral, one final act of petty revenge. I sent a large bouquet of flowers anyway, with a card that read simply, "Goodbye, Dad." That was 3 months ago. Through Aunt Rachel, I hear that Mom is struggling to maintain their lifestyle on what Dad left her. Lily throws tantrums about not being able to afford her usual shopping sprees and restaurant meals. Sometimes I wonder if they've learned anything from all of this. Last week, I got another call from an unknown number. This time, I let it go to voicemail. It was Lily, asking if I'd reconsider helping her just until she gets on her feet. I deleted the message without responding. Sitting in my office now, looking at the life I've built for myself, I feel at peace with my decisions. I'm sorry I never got to truly reconcile with Dad, but I'm not sorry I stood my ground. Some people might call me cold or unforgiving, but I learned long ago that maintaining healthy boundaries isn't the same as being cruel. I glance at the photo on my desk, me with Aunt Rachel and Uncle Mike at my last birthday celebration. They're my real family, the ones who believed in me, supported me, loved me unconditionally. Blood might be thicker than water, as they say, but love is thicker than blood. And real love doesn't come with conditions or price tags. My phone buzzes, a text from Aunt Rachel asking if I'm still coming for Sunday dinner. I smile and text back a quick yes. Wouldn't miss it. Some bridges stay burned for a reason, but others grow stronger with time. I've learned to know the difference.